Alright guys, how's it going? I really hope you've enjoyed everything we've covered so far on the guitar course. So now it's time to put it all together into one awesome solo that I've prepared for you. This guitar solo features loads of techniques we've covered so far on the course, such as pinched harmonics, double stops, bending and sliding, vibrato. We're going to be using all 5 positions of the minor pentatonic scale, and I've also thrown in a bit of two-handed tapping to spice it up. So it's not going to be easy, but this is how it sounds. This guitar solo features the same backing track we've used in the other solos, so we're going to be in the key of A. I'm using a high gain guitar because we're going to be using pinch harmonics, so I've brought along this one, and I'm also using a distortion pedal to get that tone. If you have anything like that, then make sure you use it to learn this solo. Like I did with the other solos, I'm going to break this one down into sections and play through them slowly so you can get to grips with it. Just remember, if there's anything you're not sure how to do, go back to previous lessons to work on those techniques. So here we go, this is section 1. Section 1 is based around position 1 of the A minor pentatonic. We start with a 2-fret bend double stop here. So you're going to be using your ring finger on the 8th fret of the B string and your middle finger on the 7th fret G string. And all you're going to do is bend the G string up 2 frets. We're also going to dip that bend and then push it back up again, just for a bit of flavour, like this. Next, we run down position 1 of the A minor pentatonic, starting on the 5th fret of the E string. So there's a couple of pinched harmonics in there. The first one is on the 5th fret G string. We also add a microtonal bend to that note, and then we move to the 7th fret D string, play another pinch harmonic, and add some thick vibrato in there to really bring it out. Moving on, we're playing up position 1, starting on the 5th fret A string. We're going to move up to a double stop, and it's going to be a G string double stop. What I've added here is a G string double stop on the 7th fret, also thrown in a very small microtonal bend there before moving back to the 5th fret. Next, we start with a microtonal bend on the 5th fret G string, and we move down position 1, sliding down into the lower octave of position 5 to finish the phrase. Few things to watch out for here is that when I start going down position 1, there's a microtonal bend on the 5th fret D string, and then on the A string we play the passing note of the blues scale, which is going to be 6th fret A string. So that's the first section. This is what it sounds like all together. The best thing to do with this is work at it slowly and then build your speed up, and then you can play it at tempo. The next section is going to be pretty tough because we're sliding from the position 5 of the A minor pentatonic in the lower octave all the way up to position 4 in the upper octave. Let me show you what it sounds like. So we're going to start by playing up the first 2 strings in position 5 of the A minor pentatonic, and then we're going to slide into position 1. Things to watch out for here is that we're going to be jumping from the A string to the G string, and then from the D string to the B string in this lick here. All the slides in this section are quite fast, so you need to be precise. Just remember not to put too much pressure on the strings so you can hear the frets that you're passing between. Next up, we're sliding into position 2 using the same picking pattern, then we're going to be moving into position 3, finishing this section in position 4. Sounds like this. This section is going to be a real challenge, so you do have to know all 5 positions of your pentatonic scales, especially because we're sliding between them and applying a picking pattern. One thing to watch out for here is sliding into position 4 straight into a bend on the 15th fret of the B string. At the end of this section, we've got a few big bends that are going to be hard to hold, especially because we're not applying vibrato until the very last second. After we've slid into position 4 and played that bend, we have this lick. What I'm doing here is bending up 2 frets on the 15th fret of the B string, dropping back down and applying a microtonal bend to the 13th fret of the B string. Then I'm dropping down position 4 until I hit this big 2 fret bend on the 15th fret of the E string. When I'm up there, I'm applying an upstroke on the same note to increase the length of the bend before I add my vibrato. Let's put it all together now. Remember to play through these sections slowly to make sure you learn them, because when we play it at speed, all those fine details should be in your muscle memory so you don't have to think about them. Moving on to section 3 now, we're playing position 1 of the A minor pentatonic, but up an octave. So all this is going to be based around the 17th fret. There's some big bends in this section, a couple of microtonal bends and some blues notes to give it more flavour. The first note we start on in this section is the 20th fret, and we're going to be playing a 2 fret bend on the E string. At the end of that big bend there, I just added a very small microtonal bend before moving to the next part. Next, we're moving down position 1 and then ending on a blues lick. One thing to watch out for here that's really common in blues guitar is the 2-fret bend on the 19th fret of the G string, and then we play the B and E string on the 17th fret, like this. To round off this section, we play down position 1, adding that blues note, and then slide into position 5 of the minor pentatonic. Let's put section 3 together. Now that we've hit the halfway point, this is what you should have so far. Okay, so we're on to section 4 now. This is definitely one of the most difficult parts of the guitar solo because it features a sextuplet line. A sextuplet is 6 notes in a beat, like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc. And we're going to be doing this for a total of 4 beats. Let me play this section for you. So we start this section off by playing in position 5 in the lower octave, and we slide up to position 4 to execute the sextuplet line. Once we've done that, we go into the sextuplet line, ending on a 2-fret bend on the 8th fret of the B string. The sextuplet line is all in position 1 of the A minor pentatonic. One thing to watch out for here is that we want a very slight palm muted sound on this run, like this. Alright, so we're on to section 5 now. Again, this is another difficult section because this is the section that features the 2-handed tapping line. Let me play it through for you. As you can see, the tapping line is quite difficult. We're tapping between position 1 and position 2, and then we end that section with a slide up on the 12th fret using our right hand. That is quite hard, but I'm sure with enough practice you'll be fine doing it. The 2-fret bend that you did at the end of section 4 is the first thing we play in section 5. One thing to bear in mind here is at the top of the bend, we need to let off a bit and then push back up again, just for a bit of flavour, like this. Next, we're going to be descending position 1 using a picking pattern that we covered in a previous exercise. Sounds like this. Once you've done that, we're going to ascend position 1, ready to go straight into the 2-handed tapping line. When we get to that 8th fret on the E string, we're going to start the 2-handed tapping line. The 2-handed tapping line we do here starts with a tap on the right hand on the 10th fret of the E string. We then push off to the 8th fret and then pull off down to the 5th fret, like this. Once you've done that, we're going to hammer onto the 8th fret of the B string, tap the 10th fret, push off and then pull off down to the 5th fret. and we're going to repeat that twice, like this. Next, you're going to move down to the G string and follow the same pattern, but you're going to hammer onto the 7th fret and tap on the 9th fret. We'll repeat that twice before we slide from the 9th fret up to the 12th with our tapping hand, like this. The thing you need to remember about this slide is that you need to put a lot of pressure on your tapping hand. Because you're tapping the note and sliding, it's okay to put that amount of pressure on because it's quite a quick motion. You're not going to hear the frets passing in between. Once you've got to the 12th fret, you're going to push off and ring out the 7th fret of the G string. So the whole phrase sounds like this. To finish off section 5, we're going to throw in some octave chords. This is the line we'll be playing. So we're starting with an octave chord between the 7th fret G string and the 10th fret E string. Then we're moving to the 9th fret, down to the 5th fret, before we change the octave chord to go between the D string and the B string. Then we need to move the shape to the 5th fret, the D string, and the 8th fret B string, and slide that up to the 7th fret. The trick here is to slide just after you've hit the notes with your pick, because it gives a nice smooth feeling. The other thing to bear in mind is that we hit 2 dead notes before we played the D string octave chord 5th fret up to the 7th, like this. So here's the whole of section 5. You'll also notice that just after the tapping pattern, I play this. It's just a cool thing to throw in there. Altogether, it sounds like this. Okay, so we're on to the final section of the solo. This is the last bit we need to know before we can play the whole solo back to back. This is what it sounds like. So the final section is based around position 4 of the minor pentatonic scale. However, I've included a couple of notes from Aeolian to give it a bit of a different sound. We're going to start with a 2 fret bend on the 15th fret, like this. You may have noticed that I picked the string a couple of extra times to prolong the length of the bend before adding the vibrato and coming back down. After you've done the big bend, we're going to go in and play this lick. So the extra notes that I added were on the E and the B string at the beginning of this phrase. We're starting on the 13th fret, hammering up to the 15th, and then pulling off down to the 12th, like this. It's the same frets on the B string, but we play a slightly different phrase. Both together, it sounds like this. After you've played through that phrase, we're going to descend down position 4 and play a small lick, like this. Let's put both 2 bits together, so you'll get this. And the final phrase starts with a big bend on the 15th fret of the B string, then we descend down position 4, adding the blues note and slide into position 3 to end the solo. There's a few microtonal bends in the final section to watch out for, but other than that, it's all just pentatonics. So here's all the parts in section 6 back to back. You should be finished on the 12th fret on the A string with a nice thick vibrato, slide up and then off the neck to say you've finished the solo. So there it is, a massive guitar solo filled with techniques. If you're able to play all the way through this, then you really have come a long way since the beginning of this guitar course. Make sure you go through each section slowly to cover the fine details, because they're what makes this guitar solo sound awesome. Remember, if there's anything you're not sure about, then do go back to some of the previous lessons just to double check that you've got this technique under your fingers. I really hope you've enjoyed learning guitar with me so far, and I also can't wait to see what you do with this guitar solo. Try and incorporate some of the licks in this guitar solo into your own playing. Have fun with it, and I'll see you soon.